part of that church, and we want to invite you to come and join us for service on a Sunday morning. We have services 8:30, 10, and 11:30 at that church Sherwood and at that church in Cabot. So make sure you come and hang out with us. It's also online, but there's nothing better than being there in person. If you do come join us, stop by the first time guest table, get you a gift, and come hang out. It's going to be an awesome time. We also have Pointman coming up. Pointman is our men's ministry of that church. We'll be meeting live and in person at Sherwood and in Cabot this coming June. And so we want to see your face in the place. So come hang out with us. It's going to be an awesome time. We'll have some info on what the topic is and what we're going through as we get a little closer to it. But, you know, it's nothing beats it.
Yeah, and also if you've gone this far in the video and you have not hit subscribe, please subscribe.
Yeah, why we don't ever say that anymore, but do it.
Well, I know hitting home runs is probably cooler, but
I don't know. I think it's two different kinds of cool. I think guys who can steal a bunch of bases are fun, but you have to think about like your utility to the team too, which stat would mean more. It probably depends on eras of baseball. You know, there's been eras of baseball that are like, they are the long ball eras where home runs mean a lot. And then there's some where the balls are dead or the bats are dead or for one reason or another, it's more difficult to hit a home run. And those guys who can run fast and move, they're more important in those periods of time. Like
I said earlier, I don't know ball. I don't know baseball. I know football-ish. I don't really watch the NFL all that much anymore. I know a lot of college ball. But it just seems cool about baseball where, you know, you could get a walk. You could get walked.
Yeah.
You get on base. You could get, essentially, you can get you can score if you're fast enough. If you're like, you got a crappy pitcher who's not really watching, you could still home. You could still second base, third base, and still home. It just seems, I don't know, cooler to me. Like, you gave me an inch and I took a mile.
Yeah.
It just seems cool that you can still base like that.
I don't know. I never had to worry about it.
Not me either.
I didn't hit home runs either. I guess I wasn't much worth to my teams.
Nah, I played JV in 9th grade, and then I played a little bit of varsity in 10th grade. But I rode the pine most of the time and got in when it was like trash time, where somebody actually got injured and I had to be on the field to play baseball. Yeah. So football, I played every Pee Wee all the way up until senior year. Every grade, started every game, but baseball is no good.
I always loved baseball. I loved playing. I played when I was a little kid. Like 4 years old, all the way until I didn't play my senior year in high school. Because in high school, we would play football until November, and then baseball started in February. That time between the end of football season and the start of baseball, for me and the 3 other guys who played football, was our weight loss time of the year. Yep. And that was awful.
Yep.
Until my last year, I was like, I'm just going to not do that. So I didn't play.
Yeah, I just, the only reason I played baseball is because it was the only other sport. Well, I guess I could have wrestled as well because they don't line up with football, but I didn't really want to wear a onesie. So
if I could go back, wrestling was not taken seriously at my school. And so I just didn't feel like, if I could go back though, I'd probably, it's funny when I think about like sports for my kid, like I played football my whole life. I don't want my kid to play football at all. Like
I have that, I know it sounds weird, but I have that same feeling as like, dude, I probably had so many. I could be so much smarter right now in my life if I didn't smack my head a million times every Friday night.
Dude, my memory is so bad. Like, it is uncanny how bad it is. And so I know for a fact that it has, some of that is a product of just being hit in the head so many times in my life.
Yeah, I would wake up because, you play football on Friday night and then you'd wake up. Well, most of the time, it was Saturday morning was the ACT. Mm-hmm. So it seemed like every time it would be a brutal game and I would wake up and have to go take the ACT. And I'm like, dude, I can't even think straight right now. There's no way I should be up here taking this test. I mean, maybe some of that was just like trying to blame on something else, even though I didn't get good ACT scores. But at least a point or two higher I would have had if I wasn't smacking my head against other dudes.
Yeah, I can't. In fact, we didn't let our first son play football. And we're not letting our second son play football.
Yeah, so. It's just I mean, like if my kids want to play, I probably won't stop them, but it's like it's so much better for your just longevity to not do it. Just go, like you said, go into wrestling or golf or track or field or something. The other day I was very curious. I'm always on AI these days. I'm just asking questions. I was like, what's the highest chance sport of like what sport should you get your kid into? The highest chance for them to get a scholarship. And it was like track and field is like number one. It's like they don't give like the highest, like might not get 100% or 90%, but they have the overall. Like if you're in track and field and you're decent at all, you're going to get some portion of your scholarship paid for if you're doing track and field. And I was like, no, because it's like a way bigger pool of kids are doing that versus like if you're trying to get a football scholarship, like.
Yeah, there's only so many spots. Well, actually, right now, I guess in college, I don't think they have limited roster spots anymore.
Not right now, yeah.
Yeah, but who knows in 20 years, 18 years. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what my kids are going to do. Honest to God, I have not even thought about sports for my kids. And then it hit me that my kid's 4 and he can start playing sports.
Yeah.
And I was like, probably need to start thinking about it. I'm thinking soccer.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of everybody kind of starts in soccer, and it's a good way because you don't have to you're not tackling anybody. You literally just kick a ball.
There is a lot of high injury in soccer too. But
yes, but it's like
I was watching the game. Speaking of that, I was watching Barcelona play Wednesday afternoon while I was working on something, and they showed the stands, and 2 of the best players on Barcelona's team were sitting in the stands watching the game. Not 2 minutes after they showed this, Lamine Yamal, who's one of the best players on the team, takes a penalty kick and then hurts his leg taking the penalty kick.
Oh, yeah.
He comes out of the game.
Highlight. Yeah. He scores and instantly falls on the ground. He
starts to walk to celebrate and then just lays down. He's like, no, don't touch me.
Yeah. We tried to get Reese into soccer, and I think I don't know, I have a theory about it because he was a COVID baby, born in 2020 during the middle of COVID when there was 0 crowds anywhere. You go to church, no crowd. You go to anywhere in the malls, there's nobody there.
Oh, so his like immediate exposure was like nothing like that.
Yes. Yeah. And so we tried to take him to soccer. He could play in the backyard. And then he saw the crowd of people at this game, which it was in he was 4, I think. So I guess 24 or 23 or 24. And he was out there and he was like, there were so many people and he was just like,
claimed
and did not kick the ball once. So it was like, okay, we're not doing soccer. COVID kid can't
handle
the
crowds.
Pressure,
yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I think we'll probably try soccer and see how he likes that. Maybe gymnastics, things like that are.
Yeah. There's so many sports, I don't know, that you could get into that they could take you to like, to get you a free degree or a 50% off degree. It's like, football is, I don't know. I love football. It's my, go-to thing on Saturday to watch the Hogs, but yeah, brutal to try to get a scholarship. Or
I have an unpopular opinion, which is probably not great for a podcast for men, but I actually think that not that football will ever not be the number 1 sport in America, because I think it probably we spend so much time, energy, money on football. It'll probably always be, but I do think that basketball and soccer will. Basketball's already overtaken baseball in popularity. From my perspective, at least, and the people I talk to.
Yeah, I don't think it's a hot take. I don't know about soccer, but basketball is nuts, is unreal.
Well, there's some of the big European clubs are putting developmental teams in America now, and they're coming and playing here more frequently. Yeah. So I could see over time. And we have the World Cup this year. So
it's in America?
Yeah, it's Canada, U.S., and Mexico.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I tried to get tickets. Not really. I just kind of got on to see how much it costs. It'd be cool. How often are you going to get to go to a World Cup? And the fact it's here and you could drive to some of these venues to watch. But like any game you want to see is like astronomically expensive. Like the most expensive tickets I've seen just to get in to an arena for a game ever. And then like games you don't want to see, you can get a ticket. It's like, I don't want to see that game.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, you got to be able to, I'm sure probably eventually one day, because people are going to realize how, like, I don't know, how bad football is for your brain, but it's just smacking your head. But I don't know, soccer, you got to be able to get it into like I don't know if I'm getting off topic here, but like you got to be able to get it into the school in the South. I don't know. I don't know if it's ever.
Yeah, it may not ever take over here. Although I do think it's funny. I was driving through Little Rock one day and it was very much neighborhood dependent. Like, I went through some of the lower income neighborhoods. Football was the kids out everywhere playing football. All the high school fields had teams on them practicing. And then I drove through one of the more affluent neighborhoods and everybody was playing soccer, not a football in sight. I mean, it was everywhere. And you kind of go out in the country here in Arkansas and they're playing football still. But in the cities, a lot of soccer being played. So I don't know. We'll see what happens in the long term. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about today.
No.
Other than there are some kids involved in our story today. But well, welcome to the Pointman podcast. My name's Zach.
I'm Luke.
And we are going to do something different. The thunder just shook the house. But we usually on the podcast, our whole goal, before we get into that, our whole goal here is to help men connect to their Bible and to be the men that God desires for them to be. We talk a lot about topics that men have questions about and things on the show, but for the next long bit, we are going to be doing really more of a strict Bible study. And so if this is something that you're interested in and joining us, we're going to be doing this for a long time. We're going to try to handle probably about a chapter, maybe two a week through the book of 1 Samuel. And we're going to walk through this. We're actually shooting these out of order because this idea came after we already did an episode in 1 Samuel. And so the background and everything around us may look different in a few episodes when we get there.
It's going to be full and then gone. And
yeah.
then full.
And then full again. But we are going to be in 1 Samuel chapter 1. This is a Bible companion type of episode. So if you're sitting at the house and you're watching, grab your Bible. And as we go through this, you may highlight some stuff. You may take some notes. You may see the book of 1 Samuel a little differently, or I hope you do, than when you've read it in the past. As there's a lot in this book, and each chapter itself has so much to talk about that it's kind of wild, actually. I've read it a bunch of times. Here recently, even I've read it a bunch of times, and every time I go through it, there's something that stands out to me that is important that I may have not took as seriously the first pass through. And so we're going to do that. So we're in chapter 1 today. And I'll tell you this, we're going to bounce between a bunch of different translations probably as we go. Part of that is because copyright laws. So don't sue us, please. We're just trying to teach the Bible. But and there's some other reasons, but we are going to be bouncing through some different translations. Most of the time I'm in the ESV. Most of the time Luke's in the NLT.
Sure.
But that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to kick that off today with the book of 1 Samuel.
Yep.
Little background on 1 Samuel. First thing, we do not know the author of 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel is a part of a group of writings actually called the Deuteronomical Histories. Others call it the Histories of Israel. And it starts in Joshua and goes to 2 Kings. And so this group of writings was combined and then was later separated out. And it represents the histories of Israel. Obviously, Joshua taking over from Moses through the judges, through the priests and those into the kings. And their stories and lineages. We do not know the authors. Many believe that it is probably the scribes and those that are around these figures.
I was just looking it up in the beginning here, and it says probably Samuel, but also includes writing from the prophets Nathan and Gad.
Yeah, it's all theoretical. A lot of what we have today, people believe come from maybe scribes of kings, because they were there, a party to what's going on, keeping track of the histories for archives and things of that nature. As we'll see through the writings, it actually makes a lot of sense that that's the way it was done, because some things seem in an odd order. Some things seem to not be like a strict narrative that goes straight across. In fact, when we transition in chapter 4 of the book of 1 Samuel, we enter what's called the arc narrative. And the arc narrative stands on its own from the rest of the story, but it's in the middle of the first, section of this book. And so there's a lot of things to kind of look at around this. Chapter 1 of Samuel itself really surrounds Hannah, the mother of Samuel, and her plight, as well as introduces us to the tent of meeting and to Eli, Hophni, and Phinehas, who are the sons of the high priest Eli. And so that's really what we're kind of looking at here as we kind of rock into 1 Samuel chapter 1. We find and we open this that Hannah, Samuel's mother, is distraught over the fact that she cannot have children, and in turn does something really radical that we'll get to as we go through it. The first few chapters of the book of 1 Samuel will really examine one key theme that continues to get them in trouble, which is the need for excess, actually. And we'll see that a couple places here in chapter 1. Why don't you kick us off, Luke, 1 through 8?
I did want to say real quick before we do, it is very interesting that God really likes to use ladies who have a tough time getting pregnant. I don't know, because I know there's a theme here. Like, this is just one example. But John the Baptist's mom and dad were very old, and they weren't able to have kids for a long time. They were able to have kids. And then Abraham and his wife, Sarah, also the same way, is like they couldn't have kids for a long time, and God was able to let them have kids. I thought it's just very interesting to me whenever I read it. Something that stands out to me before we dive into it, that God really likes to use, but his couple of examples of ladies who have issues getting pregnant. So I think that's
true.
It's a cool point. There was a man named Lycan. How do you say it?
Mine says there was a certain man named Ramathiam Zophim.
Okay. In the region of Zulip. The names are brutal here at the beginning. In the hill country of Ephraim. I got that one. And he was the son of Jehoram, son of... I'm getting... This is so many of them.
Here, I'll start with the first one.
Yeah, you do. It's brutal.
There was a certain man of Ramathiam Zophim of the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroam, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Zuph, an Ephratite. He had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. Now, this man used to go up year by year from his city to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of hosts at Shiloh, where the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were priests of the Lord. One day when Elkanah sacrificed, when Elkanah sacrificed, he would give a portion to Peninnah, his wife, and to her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he gave a double portion because he loved her, though the Lord had closed her womb. And her rival used to provoke her grievously to irritate her because the Lord had closed her womb. So it went year by year. As often as she went up to the house of the Lord, she used to provoke her. Therefore Hannah wept and would not eat. And Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? Why do you not eat? And why is your heart sad? Am I not more to you than 10 sons? So this is the first excess example that we have that we'll examine. Elkanah has multiple wives. This is actually, you would say, yeah, a lot of people in the Bible have multiple wives. A lot of royalty in the Bible have multiple wives. It's actually not common for a non-royal person to have, mainly because they could not afford it. And so...
Because lazy expensive, man.
So having multiple wives is actually kind of our first insight into the fact that Elkanah
brutal
is a fairly wealthy man.
Yeah, for sure.
On his own, not royal, but a fairly wealthy man. You know, it was important to them to have the ability to have a lineage of children. And so the fact that he loved Hannah, but Hannah could have no children, that brought shame on Hannah. But for him, he needed to have a way to propagate his lineage. And so he has a second wife, Peninnah, who has sons and daughters. So his line will continue, which would have been an issue for him because then his belongings and things would have gone to other people. It would not have been able to continue his wealth and prosperity to the next generation. So there's a few issues at play there. But for the point of the 2 women, you know, the fact Hannah could not have children brought shame on her, and Peninnah would actually provoke her to anger and would mock her for her inability to have children, which I'm sure wasn't helped by the fact that Elkanah loved Hannah more and would give her a double portion. I'm sure Peninnah didn't like that very much and looked down upon that. And it just shows, you know, we were only really meant to have one spouse.
Yeah, it's like we read in First Timothy this morning. It's like you should only have one wife, and it wasn't God's plan for people to have more than one. You could just tell by reading the Old Testament, like the people who had more than one wife usually was their downfall. Like David had more than one wife. A lot of times that led to his downfall, concubines, and the same thing with his son. What am I blanking on? Solomon as well had multiples of wives, and ultimately that's what led him away from God on the end of his life. It's just God's plan was for us to have one wife, one marriage, one singular commitment, and not multiples. It doesn't ever lead to a good.
No, it's not a good outcome. Yeah, no. I do think the last verse though is kind of funny. Like, why do you weep? Am I not more than 10 sons? I think this just shows the complete inability to understand from a male perspective the importance that women place on having children.
No doubt. Yep.
Where, we think like me, man, me good, me, worth more than 10 sons. And it's like to her, it's so important that she's able to have a child and to care for this child, even though, as we'll see in a second, she doesn't even plan to keep the child. But she doesn't plan to keep it in her home. She plans to keep the child. I'm going to clear that up real quick.
For sure.
Since I just said that, if you pause all of a sudden.
This, know what's going to happen eventually with Samuel.
I hope so.
Book of Samuel.
But I think it highlights this like difference in view that we have on these roles and what this actually means for each of us.
Yeah, I got to remember the verse, and I'm going to probably butcher it, and I shouldn't, but one of the verses in the Bible, it says there's a couple things that are unquenchable. It's like the barren desert, can't quench it with the thirst of rain, and a fire is unquenchable because it just keeps continuing to burn as long as you keep feeding it fuel. And then a barren wound is something that it's just very tough to overcome, and it's something that ladies have a very, very, very rough time if they're not able to get pregnant. It's just something it's brutal for them. And like you said, we don't understand. It's like, oh, you got me. Why you need these kids for?
I'm good enough.
Yeah. And there was a certain point in my life too where, I don't know, when you're a kid, you think like a kid. But I was like, whenever I get married one day, my kids are going to be the most important thing in your life. And if you think about it that way, that is not how we're supposed to be designed. It's like, it's your spouse. Eventually your kids they're going to grow up, they're going to get married, and they're going to be gone. So if you've neglected your spouse and you've neglected your love for her, eventually your kids are going to be gone. And you're like, well, now I just got this lady that I've neglected for all these years.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just, you have to grow up and realize, and reading the Bible a lot of times will make it very plain to you, is like your spouse it's more important than your kids. And it's weird to say that, but it's the case, because one day they're going to be gone and your wife's going to be sitting there next to you.
I mean, there are distinct like hierarchy of relationships, and God's at the top, and then your spouse, and then your family below that. And when we get those out of order, we begin to worship family over God, we have an issue. If we begin to worship our kids over our wife, we have an issue. Like our hierarchy of relationships is very important. And some will put hobbies or friends and places even higher than their family, and we definitely get in trouble at that point. Jobs, all those things. All right, let's go. 9 through 11.
Once after the sacrificial meal at Shiloh, Hannah got up and went to pray. Eli the priest was sitting at his customary place beside the entrance of the tabernacle. Hannah was in deep anguish, crying bitterly as she prayed to the Lord. And she made a vow, O Lord of heaven's armies, if you will look upon my sorrow and answer my prayer and give me a son, and then I will give him back to you. He will be yours for his entire life as a sign that he has been dedicated to the Lord. His hair will never be cut.
Mine says, no razor shall touch his head, which is, this is the moment where the Nazirite vow is invoked. If you want to know more about the Nazirite vow, go to Numbers 6, 1 through 21. But in a summation of it, no grape products. They would abstain from wine, from strong drink,
No drinking.
Vinegar made from wine, grape juice, eating of fresh or dried grapes, no grape products, period. They would not cut their hair.
Yep.
No hair cutting. They would not shave their face. They would do nothing. They were ritually pure, so they cannot come in contact with dead bodies. That includes their family members. They must do all to avoid becoming ritually unclean by the law of the Old Testament. In violation of the penalty, if a person becomes defiled by accidental contact with the dead body, they must shave their head and start their purification process over and restart the duration of their vow, as the previous time is void. Now, that's kind of interesting, because you're like, okay, is this not a lifelong vow? For some, it was. So for some, the parents would give their child up to the Nazirite, and they would actually take a lifelong Nazirite vow. For others, it may be a point of like refocusing or readjusting or overcoming an addiction or something of that nature, and they would then take the Nazirite vow for a set period of time.
I didn't know that.
So maybe it was 30, 60, 90, a year, 2 year, whatever it was, they would take a vow for a certain period of time. If in those instances they would become, lifelong, they would have to start over too, but let's say you had a 30-day Nazirite vow, and I don't know what the actual durations were, but let's say you have a 30-day Nazirite vow. On day 29, you touch a dead body on accident, or you have a drink of wine, you didn't know it was wine, you thought it was water, whatever it may be. you have to start over and shave your head and go back to day 0 and rework the process. Purpose of the vow, consecration. It was a vow that separate anything from anything that was worldly and simply serve God. Holiness, it designated a person as holy unto the Lord. And discipline, it was historically used to focus on spiritual dedication, or in some views as a tool to overcome addiction. So just an interesting thing. There are a few other notable people in scripture who took a Nazirite vow. Samson.
So Samson's the one that comes in my mind whenever you think about Nazirite.
Yeah. He's obviously the most commonly thought of, but there's one less thought of, and it's only really by one verse that we find this. It's in Acts chapter 18, but Paul. Parents can make lifelong vows for their kids, like we see here in the case of 1 Samuel, but for others, it was a decision that they make.
Yeah, so, in my head, Paul's a bald man, but I guess apparently it wasn't.
Yeah, I guess in my head he probably was too. But no, I would have to go to Acts 18 to see it. We're not going to do that today, but read it and you'll see there's a point where he discusses a vow similar to this. So Paul. So go check out Acts 18. Let's keep going. 12. Let's break this up. You go 12 to 16 and I'll finish it.
As she was praying to the Lord, Eli watched her. Seeing her lips moving, but hearing no sound, he thought she had been drinking. Must you come here drunk? He demanded. Now throw away your wine. Oh, no, sir, she replied. I haven't been drinking wine or anything stronger. I am very discouraged, and I was pouring out my heart to the Lord. Don't think I am a wicked woman, for I have been praying out in great anguish and sorrow.
Mine says great anxiety and vexation. Crazy. Then Eli answered, go in peace, and the God of Israel grant your petition that you have made to him. And she said, let your servant find favor in your eyes. Then the woman went her way and ate, and her face was no longer sad. They rose early in the morning and worshiped before the Lord, and they went back to their house at Ramah. And Elkanah knew his wife Hannah, and the Lord remembered her. And in due time Hannah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Samuel, for she said, I have asked for him from the Lord. When I read this, I was just thinking of like personal prayer time. And I was just thinking, when was the last time you were so poured out to God that someone could have considered that you were drunk or crazy? She was really getting after it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, you could tell on her face she was praying. She was like, she didn't care what was going on around her. She was just praying to God and just like so involved into it. If someone walked up to her, she didn't know, because she was just like so distraught, so heartbroken, and just pouring herself out to God. I like that verse 15. It says, I was pouring out my heart to the Lord. I just think that's a cool saying. I don't know what your version says, but it just seems like she is like, I don't care what's happening. I just want to tell the Lord how I feel. And then sometimes I think that's good for us to do in our lives as well, is just use God as a therapist, or use someone who actually cares about you, because you can tell your issues to God, and he cares about it. So pull your heart out to God. I don't know.
Mine says pouring.
Okay.
Yeah, pouring out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think I agree. That's crazy. But, I think our prayer life, and I'm a victim of this too, our prayer life becomes so much more like a fast food prayer of like, hey God, what's up? Help me with this thing. Pray for Cindy. She's sick. Like, and not that I think that energy or the show of your prayer actually makes a difference, but I do think that our intentionality towards prayer makes a huge difference, and our willingness to spend that time in prayer to God makes a huge difference. And sometimes I think we're prompted to pray for things and we just ignore them. And because we don't want to spend the time we don't want to stop what we're doing to just spend time in prayer. But for her, this is something that was so deeply troubling to her that she prayed in such a way that a man watched and thought that she was crazed or that she was drunk and was, not in the place she's supposed to be. And this is the high priest who says this too. So which there's a lot to be said about that when we'll get into that with the life of Eli and his sons. But I just think it's so deeply troubling maybe to me that we don't pray in such a way.
Yeah, it's like maybe if you're going through something that you have super anxiety about, something that stresses you to the max, this is a saying, is like, have you prayed to God about that thing Stop worrying about it. Go and actually pray to the God who can actually change things. And that's what she was doing. It just reminds me as well as like, man, I'm going through struggles. I'm going through something that's super hard, super anxious and worried, stressed about it. Like, pray to God to that and let Hannah be the example for you as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go 21 through 24.
The next year, Elkanah and his family went to their annual trip to offer a sacrifice to the Lord. But Hannah did not go. She told her husband, wait until the boy is weaned. Then I will take him to the tabernacle and leave him there with the Lord permanently. Whatever you think is best, he agreed. Stay here for now, and may the Lord help keep your promise. So she stayed home and nursed the boy until he was weaned. When the child was weaned, Hannah took him to the tabernacle at Shiloh. They brought along a 3-year-old bull for the sacrifice and a basket of flour and some wine. After sacrificing the bull, they brought the boy to Eli.
So this is the payoff. Hannah has bore a son. She promised to give him to God. And so she weans the child. And once the child is weaned, she does, in fact, take him back to the Lord. But she takes the sacrifice with her, a specific sacrifice with her. Some people will say that a 3-year-old bull. Some translations say she took 3 bulls with her. Some people say 3 because he's 3 years old. That doesn't make a lot of sense, because when we look at the rest of this and it says that she took the flour and the skin of wine and brought them to the house of the Lord, this is actually the required sacrifice for the Nazirite vow. So it has really nothing to do with his age. We don't really know how old he is. He's weaned. It's been a bit. But, for most people, if they get the thing they want, even from God, and they ask God and God gives them something, they will just take it and run with it. Hannah doesn't do that. Hannah fulfills her end of the deal, takes Samuel back to the tent to devote him to God for the rest of his life. But she does take this offering to fulfill that piece of the vow to the people. The value of the sacrifice is a second point, though, where we see how wealthy Elkanah probably really is. These are not cheap things to sacrifice, and they're not a requirement of the sacrificial system unless you're at this income status. And so it's another view where we see this guy's got some money, or property and land. Like, he's a wealthy man. And so the fact she takes those back just gives us another insight into that.
Yeah, you don't really know what age he's going to be, because some ladies breastfeed their kid until they're like 6.
Far too long. Grown-ups.
You never know. Back in this time, they didn't have formula or anything, so you had to. Like, it was a deal. You got to eat.
Have you seen the movie Grown Ups? And it's the kid's like 8 years old.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's 8 years old here, by the way. We don't have any insight really into how old he is. I'm sure somebody has done enough research to find, a relative range, but I have no clue. Yeah. I didn't look into it that hard.
I know there's some parents out there who would be like, dang, I'm trying to do what Hannah did and drop this kids off at church. Don't be dropping your kids off at church. Don't be dropping your kids off at church.
That is a thought. That is something that may need to be discussed for a second. Where Hannah, in this period of time, to devote him to the Lord, she was devoting him into service of the Lord for his life. In our time as parents, we devote our children to the Lord. We do it at that church, through baby dedication. Baby dedication is, yes, we are dedicating the child to God, but really we're dedicating that we, as the church, affirm the parents are going to raise their children up to know the Lord. So you are, in essence, devoting the way Hannah was devoting by raising your kids, yourself, not the priest, but yourself, up to know the Lord. I got enough kids. Don't be dropping any off my house. I got my one's enough. I promise the world is better that I have one in my house and one not. But that's what's happening here. So she doesn't, it's not like she's like, I don't want the kid, so I'm giving to you. She wants the kid desperately, but she's already made this promise to God that she would devote him fully to him. So she drops him off with Eli, which, as we learn a little bit more about Eli, you probably wouldn't drop your kids off with him either. But that's neither here nor there today.
Yep.
It says, then they slaughtered the bull and they brought the child to Eli. And she said, oh, my Lord, as you live, my Lord, I am the woman who is standing here in your presence praying to the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition. petition and I made to him. Therefore, I have lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he is lent to the Lord and worship the Lord there. What does your what's 28 say in yours?
So now I'm giving him to the Lord.
That's kind of interesting. That it says lent in mine. And that's something I've kind of thought about some, but I haven't dug in too deeply too. But I just find it interesting. She's like, I'm giving him to God. He's his forever. And then at the moment where she's turning him over, she says she lent him.
Yeah, and he will belong to the Lord his whole life.
Yeah, that's just interesting. But Hannah exhibits that as a parent, we have this temporary role that is ultimately our children belong to God. You know, she returned Samuel to him as she promised, that she would worship, and they worshiped God that day together. There are a few flyby characters in this first chapter that really we open up in chapter 2. The first is Hophni and Phinehas. So Hophni and Phinehas are considered the worthless sons of Eli in chapter 2.
Yep, brutal.
They are the sons of the high priest, and in essence, they are next in line to take the role of priest of the people of Israel. It's not going to work out for them that way. We'll get into that. And then Eli. Eli is the high priest. His role is ordained by God long before this moment. You know, he's a part of the Levitical priests, the tribe of Levi. And so in this role, the priests were not given the opportunity to accrue wealth in the natural sense. Like the other tribes were given land that they could graze cattle and sell for profit and make money. The Levites weren't that way. They had a place where they were allowed to graze land, but they were not given land to profit from. In fact, their entire livelihood is based on the tribute that people gave to God, the tithe, the offering that they gave to God. So their entire setup is that they serve God without this opportunity to serve money or worship money or gain great wealth and power. Obviously those things kind of come to them anyway, through the tribute and through the sacrifices and those things. But they did not inherit land themselves, as did the other tribes. These men will serve as a center point of the future of Samuel and his role for a very short period of time, but they play a very significant role in the end of the priesthood, to the raising of Samuel into a priest himself and then turned prophet, which we'll get into. Those are different. But then the downfall of Israel to a degree, at least for a short period of time, which we'll see in chapter 3 and 4.
Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to get into, like, I know we're saying the word Levites. You maybe don't know what that means. So that there's 12 tribes of Israel, which is God's people. Mm-hmm. Each one of those tribes kind of has their own role, what he told them to do. They got their own land, separated out, and then he gave the jobs of the Levites to be the priest. And so he said, you can't have any land or jobs. You just, you attend to my people. You be the priest of my people. So I don't know if that's when we say Levi, we're maybe going over your head there a little bit, but yeah.
They are the priests. They are set aside to be the priests, apart from all the other tribes of Israel. Yep. Matthew is Levi, was it in the New Testament? Same thing. Okay. Still, the tribe continues forward into the New Testament and to today, I'm sure. Yeah. But that's where their role comes into play. The priests were different. So like when we think of our current setup of church, which obviously we are not Jewish, we are Christian. We have a different setup in totality, but we think of the priests like we would think of our pastors. That's not the case, really. No one has this, the way we have the Holy Spirit interact in our life and this personal relationship with Jesus, who came and died and was resurrected for you. They don't have the same situation here. They have a knowledge of God and the law of God. And so the priests there's a second role in the temple that I cannot ever remember the name of it. But anyway, the priests were over the rites and rituals of the people of Israel. So they were over the sacrifice, the sacrificial law, the ceremonial law. They were over these pieces of the law of God. And so that was their role. And we'll actually see that play out in Samuel's life, because there's actually a moment where it says he did not yet know the Lord, after it already says that he is a priest. And so there's a different situation here so we have to, for the sake of this study, we have to kind of separate a couple things out in our mind and separate our experience as Christians in the church from what the priesthood looked like and what the temple looked like for Israel, because they are different. They're very different. We'll also have to separate out the difference in the role of the priest and the prophet to the nation of Israel. Samuel is given to be a priest, but God makes him a prophet. They're different roles. They have a different thing that they're doing. And in fact, we'll actually see Samuel's role as a prophet is not unlike others, where God's first revelation to them is something that makes them very uncomfortable. And it's something that's very close to home and close to their situation, but it's not going to be good for the people that they know.
Yeah. Sometimes you want to know the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts.
Yeah. There's a song. It says, and it's actually in Ted Lasso. I'm sure the Ted Lasso episode made the song, the line in the song come out, but it says, before the truth will set you free, but it'll piss you off, is the line in the show and in the song. So
yeah, sure.
It's kind of true sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Or it says before the truth can set you free, it'll piss you off.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you tell somebody about the gospel and they don't want to hear that they're sinning and that they're living how they're not supposed to be living. It'll piss you off, but then it'll set you free. So, no, I think it's good.
I don't know. We probably need a meter for the number of times we use that word. Whoopsie. I don't know if you're offended, I'm sorry. But yeah, no, I love the book of First Samuel. I love all of the histories of Israel and the books that really give a lot of historical depth in the Old Testament. So this study is really fun for me. So I'm excited that we're doing this. I think it's cool.
I think it's great going line by line. There's nothing we're going to say that's going to change your life, but the Bible will change your life. So
it's all about the Bible.
Great.
And we want men to connect to the scripture and to grow in their understanding of the Bible. So hopefully just being able to offer a little bit of context. And yeah, you can read this throughout the week and join us as we kind of break it down. Take it section by section when you're reading it throughout the week. Read the whole thing every day, whatever you want to do. But I think we're going to learn and see a lot of what God is doing to the nation of Israel. And we're going to see it connect in places to what happens in our life and in the New Testament as we go through it. So I'm pretty excited for this.
Yeah, whenever you read it, you'll probably read the names correctly, unlike when I do it. So
I did learn that anytime you have L is the emphasis. So it's Elkanah.
Elkanah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's not Elkanah.
Yeah.
I learned that. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So it's Elijah.
There's a lot of names in the Old Testament you're going through. You're trying to pick a name for your kid. You're like, well, I can't. These are brutal. I can't.
If anybody names their kid Hophni, there's no way that's how it was said. But that's how we say it in English.
Yeah.
There's no way that was actually how they said it. But anyway, well, this has been the Pointman podcast. Let me tell you something before you click off. We are part of that church, and we want to invite you to come and join us for service on a Sunday morning. We have services 8:30, 10, and 11:30 at that church Sherwood and at that church in Cabot. So make sure you come and hang out with us. It's also online, but there's nothing better than being there in person. If you do come join us, stop by the first time guest table, get you a gift, and come hang out. It's going to be an awesome time. We also have Pointman coming up. Pointman is our men's ministry of that church. We'll be meeting live and in person at Sherwood and in Cabot this coming June. And so we want to see your face in the place. So come hang out with us. It's going to be an awesome time. We'll have some info on what the topic is and what we're going through as we get a little closer to it. But, it's nothing beats it.
Yeah, and also if you've gone this far in the video and you have not hit subscribe, please subscribe.
Yeah, why? We don't ever say that anymore. But do it.
Yeah, you like this video. You're still here. Just hit subscribe. You'll see the next one.
Leave us a comment. Ask a question. We want to interact with you. We say it laughing, but I'm being serious.
No doubt.
We want to interact with you. We want to help walk through this with you. So yeah, like I say, if you're still here, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and let's get into it. But till next time, I'm Zach.
I'm Luke.
Peace out.
That's good. The thunder was rolling during that thing, man.
Oh, that right at the beginning.
I was like, I'm Luke. It was like, boo!
God don't like Luke.
Wild. Scary.